Imagine this. You're lying in bed after a long day, your alarm already set for 9 a.m. because you've got work at 11. The room is dim, quiet, safe, for just a moment. But then, like clockwork, the bass starts rumbling through the walls. Your mother is drunk, again, and the night is only beginning. You smell it before you hear it, the sharp tang of cheap vodka mixed with something floral, her usual. She's downstairs, probably fumbling with the speaker settings, ready to party like she's 22 again. But she's not. She's 37, and you're her daughter, 18, stuck in a house where you've been forced to be the adult for far too long. You open your bedroom door slightly, already exhausted by the cycle. The cycle of pretending everything's fine. The cycle of her pretending she's just being fun. The cycle of you pretending you don't care. Except tonight, you snap. Are you drinking already? It's not a question. It's an accusation. A weary one. The kind of sentence that comes from the mouth of someone who's had this conversation too many times. From someone who's been let down over and over again. She hears it. A few minutes later, there's a knock at your door. She wants to talk. She always wants to talk when she's been drinking. Like alcohol gives her permission to play therapist, philosopher, victim, all at once. You tell her no. You tell her she can come back when she's sober. That's when things get weird. You hear the shuffle of movement, a rustling sound, and then you see it. A $20 bill being slid under your door. You freeze. Then her voice. Soft, sweet, too sweet. Will you take $20 to pop a Benny and go to sleep? Your heart stops. She's asking you to take a drug, not for your health, not because you need it, but so she can keep drinking, keep blasting music, and keep pretending her life hasn't become a spiral she refuses to look at. You don't open the door. You don't take the money. You tell her you've got work in the morning. You tell her she won't wake up in time to get you out the door, not after a night of drinking. She never does. You tell her that her promises don't mean anything anymore. And that stings. Not because it's cruel, but because it's true. Eventually, she asks for the money back. You slide it under the door, cold and calm. The conversation's over, but it's not, really. Because now she's in the garage, pouting. Not because she's sorry, not because she's embarrassed, but because she didn't get her way. She didn't get to play the role of the fun mom tonight. You lie in the dark, and the silence feels heavier than the music ever did. You wonder if you're being too harsh. You wonder if maybe she is just being silly, like some Reddit strangers in your DMs claim. You wonder if you'll regret this when she's gone. And then you remember the nights you couldn't sleep because the music shook your walls. You remember the mornings you went to work with bloodshot eyes and a knot in your chest. You remember the time she promised to be better, and the time she broke those promises, again and again and again. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't one bad night. This was the latest episode in a long-running show where she writes the script and casts herself as the misunderstood protagonist. And you're just the audience, trapped, watching, endlessly exhausted. You remember that you're the one who had to grow up early, that your childhood wasn't about sleepovers or bike rides. It was about tiptoeing around moods, reading her facial expressions like warning signs, learning to be invisible when the bottle came out. You're asking for sleep, for silence, for a night without chaos. But in this house, those things cost $20. And tonight, you didn't take the deal. You've tried to talk to her before, to be reasonable, but how do you reason with someone who sees you as an inconvenience to their indulgence? And tonight, she made it clear. Her comfort matters more than your health. Her buzz matters more than your rest. Her music matters more than your peace. There's a word for that: neglect. And there's a word for what she asked you to do: self-medicate. Benadryl might be over the counter, but that doesn't make it harmless. Taking it just to be unconscious while your mother parties 2 rooms away? That's not quirky. That's not silly. That's disturbing. And yet, people still message you telling you to be kinder. That one day, you'll wish you hadn't been so mean. They weren't there the night she locked you out of the house. They didn't hear her yell when it was your payday and she thought she was entitled to your money. They didn't see her try to rent out your room behind your back. They didn't live through the winter night she left you outside when it was below freezing. They didn't hear the voice that used to sing you lullabies turn cruel and slurred. They don't know, and maybe they never will. But you do. You know what it's like to have a parent who treats your needs like background noise to their bad decisions. You know what it's like to go to school, tired, work stressed, and smile anyway, because what choice do you have? You know what it's like to be the only adult in a house full of denial. And you're tired, so tired, but not tired enough to give in. You didn't take the money. You didn't take the pill. You didn't betray your own boundaries. And maybe that doesn't feel heroic, but it is. Because saying no to someone you love, someone who raised you, who's supposed to protect you, that's one of the hardest things a person can do. You stood your ground. You chose self-respect over keeping the peace. You chose reality over illusion. And maybe that means your mom's in the garage, sulking. Maybe it means she'll talk bad about you to her friends. Maybe it means more awkward silences, more tension. But maybe it also means this: you're becoming someone who doesn't just survive dysfunction. You name it. You face it. You challenge it. And in a world that constantly tells us to stay quiet for the sake of family, that's radical. That's brave. That's powerful. You're not the asshole. You're the child of one. And that's not your fault. So, am I the asshole for refusing to take medication just so my mom could get drunk? Host reflection. No, absolutely not. This story is a masterclass in boundary setting, in emotional survival, in refusing to be gaslit by people who use alcohol and manipulation as shields against accountability. We live in a culture that glorifies forgiveness without reconciliation. That tells us to love our parents no matter what. That guilt trips us with phrases like, "You'll miss her when she's gone," while ignoring the damage being done right now. But healing doesn't come from denial. It comes from truth. It comes from saying, "This hurts," and not flinching. To the person who lived this story, thank you for your courage. And to anyone listening who sees themselves in this narrative, you're not alone. If you've ever been asked to shrink yourself for someone else's comfort, if you've ever had to parent your own parent, if you've ever been made to feel like the villain for wanting basic respect, this is your reminder. You're not crazy. You're not cruel. You're just done. And that's okay. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts below. Have you ever had to choose peace over pleasing someone you love? Let us know in the comments. This has been AITA Stories, where your voice matters and your truth is valid. See you in the next one.